There's a secret to this. Being funny. Getting text messages.
What's that?
Making a podcast. I don't know what that secret is.
I think they're following us.
I don't know what no one's ever told me a secret
Wait, get to
before.
the car. No.
Text me if you want to tell me a secret.
That-
I'll tell you one of mine is
That's-
I'm afraid of horses.
That's casting out demons.
Hey guys,
Hey guys, what's up?
this is Casting Out Demons comedy horror podcast brought to you by
A comedy horror podcast made from our blood, sweat, and fears.
brought to you by
Our blood, sweat, and fears. I don't
Zach
know.
and Bailey.
Oh yeah, I'm Bailey.
And a guest today.
We do, and so we're back, Demon Heads. It's been too long since we've said that. So, to just kind of explain what happened before we introduce our lovely guest, a lot of stuff happened. A lot of really... 2015 went out on a very sour note.
For all of us.
And then 2016 started out even...
I mean, Donald Trump just keeps picking up support.
Yeah, and it started out even worse.
It's getting out of hand.
So, we've decided to reclaim our country and our podcast. But,
We're patriots.
Yeah, so we will be back, I believe hopefully weekly, for you guys. And I have made it my mission to get iTunes figured out. So.
When Bailey's on a mission, it's a lot like the Pilgrims.
Beautiful segue. So.
I know.
Today we're going to
I've
be
been doing this for a couple of episodes. I'm no stranger to a demon head.
So, today we're going to be talking about the movie The Witch. So, before we go any further, we are going to spoil it for you. So, if you have not watched it...
Hey, yeah, we've never
listen.
done spoiler warnings before, have we?
Right after we've said something.
Yeah.
I'm just preemptive strike.
Yeah,
this
we're
time.
going to ruin the fuck out of this movie.
Yeah, so if you've not seen it, go watch it.
Run for the hills.
So, with that being said, today our guest is our friend Elena.
Hello.
Hey, Elena.
Hi.
Yeah.
Zach.
Nice to meet you, Zach.
Nice to meet you
So it's
too.
really funny, we actually all three went and saw this together, so it's going to make this a really interesting episode.
Which is really weird because we've been doing this podcast since what? Like...
Almost a year.
Almost a
Yeah,
year.
no, yeah.
Yeah. And we've never watched a movie together.
It's we're back. With all
Second
new
season.
rules.
Second season, recasted the whole thing.
Yeah, and
someone else is playing Zach.
I will solemnly swear to you guys that we will not pull a hiatus like that again, but just know there were a lot of bad things that happened.
My girlfriend left the country. She's also not my girlfriend anymore.
Our store got shut down.
Yes. Let's see, something else probably happened.
I
My sister's pregnant, but that's more good news than anything.
Yeah, I had some financial stuff happen.
Me too.
Yeah, my dad was sick.
My dad's still dead, so there's that.
Ooh.
I checked.
We're coming back with a vengeance, guys.
Yes.
Remember all those stones we left unturned?
Well,
Go ahead and flip them all over.
Yeah, like pancakes, am I right? Who doesn't like pancakes? You know who likes pancakes? That kid from Cabin Fever. That's a deep reference.
God.
That's a really smart joke I just told you guys.
So anyway,
Like an owl wearing like glasses.
something that I have been wanting to say.
I turn my phone on silent.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit who this is. It's not more important than the podcast.
So this
shit.
is something that I've wanted to say for a really long time.
Okay.
But here's our first segment, Trick or Tweet.
Trick or tweet, guys. Here it goes.
Boo.
Bailey, why don't you go first?
Okay.
This is your podcast.
So I'm gonna have to do a little bit of context after I say this. My trick or tweet is the most controversial thing to come out of New England since Deflategate. Hashtag I am not a Circe. For if you don't know what that is, Circe is the Greek goddess of magic.
Ooh.
Yeah. So imagine Richard Nixon saying that. Good Lord.
Ah.
And then
You got the Patriots.
hashtag Black Belichick. Mic drop.
Holy shit. As a sports fan, specifically football, that's a very good tweet.
Thank you.
I would accuse you of cheating, but whatever. Mine's not as good, so whatever. My trick or tweet is it's a better movie if you pretend the character Gabe from The Office directed it.
That's good.
Have you guys seen that? Remember that whenever he shows that like really unsettling footage and it's just like really creepy at Aaron's Halloween party?
Yeah.
That's what the entire movie felt like to me. It made me
yeah.
feel very unsettled.
Very unsettled. Zach
Yeah.
pointed to his stomach. So
I had to
that's
drink
real.
like 3 bottles of Pepto during it. And only 2 of those were for a pre-existing condition.
Yeah. I also just sidebar funny story from this. I thought Zach farted during the movie because
And I
he
didn't.
moved at the right time and someone else around us farted. And I thought it was Zach.
I was getting a phone call.
Anyway, so Zach farted and then here we are now.
Yeah, Zach farted, and then here we are now.
All right.
Go fuck yourself.
So, Elena, do you have anything to say for Trick or Tweet? You don't have to.
Well, I wasn't aware that this was.
We should have told her more.
Yeah.
4 or 5
we
minutes
should've.
ago, I didn't
To be fair, I just coerced her into doing this like 5 minutes
yeah,
ago.
we're just hanging out.
We're all just sitting around drinking wine because we're old enough to. Fuck you. We're not old enough to fuck. There's a we are old enough to. Anyway, let's get to the movie. Let's
Enough with semantics.
beyond and this is just off the top of the head. Beyond the expertly crafted shots, again, this is completely improvised, and the impressively constructive male-dominated microcosm, lies a truly unsettling movie that focuses more on stomach-churning discomfort than cheap scares.
That's beautiful. Yeah, the thing I liked about this movie a lot, speaking of cheap scares, there were no real jump scares.
There was the only one was whenever what's the kid's name? I already forgot.
Jacob.
Jacob? His name's Jacob?
Yeah.
Holy shit. How did I not
Right?
remember that?
No, Caleb.
Yeah. I think there's a biblical reference in there. I should have read the Bible today.
Yeah, Caleb.
One day I take
Caleb,
off.
Mercy, Jonas.
Yes. What was I about to... Okay, the one jump scare was whenever he actually has an encounter with the witch and, like, it grabs the back of... or the side of his face.
Yeah.
And that
That was a pretty weak jump scare.
Yeah, it was more.
Exactly. We'll talk about
Yeah, it was
that
like more
later.
of a pan out. Okay.
I said the jump scares are like the worst part of this movie because it feels like they're making fun of the horror genre whenever they do it. And
I can see that.
it kind of... Anyway, we'll get into that
Okay, so-
whenever I improvise this whole
Okay.
paragraph.
So, to start out with, and it pains me to say this, I love horror movies. If y'all have not noticed, I love horror movies. They're my favorite.
She's crying right now thinking
tears.
about it.
My eyes are welling up with tears. But I didn't like this movie, and I have to get that out of the way.
That's
I
fine.
actually lied to someone the other day because they were so excited, and I was like, yeah, it was good. And I feel so bad. I'm sorry to that person that I lied to you, but I did not like this movie.
Who was the person you lied to?
I'm not gonna even.
I always try to start shit on this podcast. And you did not like it either, did you?
I wasn't a huge fan. I feel like if I watch it again, I might appreciate it a little bit more.
That's how I am. I feel like it's worth another shot.
I think it's going to be a better movie whenever you watch it by yourself and you're not in a theater full of people laughing at parts that you find scary and then you get confused because other people are laughing and you're like, no, everybody. It wasn't just you, but Elena was laughing quite a bit. And I was like, I was scared. Am I a bitch? And then I went home and looked in the mirror. It turns out I am a bitch. So... yeah, I mean, my first reaction when the movie ended, I looked over at Bailey and Elena and I said, what the fuck did I just watch? And I meant that more as, because I genuinely, my stomach was hurting the entire movie because it was very eerie, more than scary. And I didn't have Pepto-Bismol, that was just a joke, Demon Hunts, but I could have used some. Am I right? Because I was farting. That was the joke I was going for. Ha ha ha, potty humor. I'm drinking wine, can you tell?
Okay, so let's start out by talking about this movie and what happened with this movie. The one thing I will say about this movie, though, I did see it at Alamo Drafthouse, which, just to plug them because they're great. The previews were great.
Amazing.
I want to
previews.
see all 3 movies that we saw. So thanks, Tim League, also, for the
Oh, I thought you were
Drafthouse
saying the
pick.
previews for The Witch.
Oh, no, the previews before The Witch were pretty great.
Yeah, and the previews for The Witch were really great,
And
too.
the previews were really great, too. But it just... Anyway, we'll get into that at the end on what we do change. But to start out with... So the premise of The Witch is we start out, and this family is excommunicated from a church.
And we don't know why. It's not just the church, the entire community.
Yeah, the entire community. It's
a
like
gated community.
church-built community, yeah. And so...
Probably
it's-
Calvinists.
Yeah. Calvinist, it's very puritanical. And so the father of the family, whose name is William, is kind of arguing with this judge, and he's like saying, how dare you judge, he's like trying to like throw words back at the judge and the jury, and they're just like, how dare you judge me?
He's pretty clever, too.
Yeah.
He made a couple of good points, even though we don't really understand the context of what the fuck's going on
because
there.
we're never given any context. And so they wind up leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And so they go to this new, it's like a really, so first off, it's a really scary looking area.
Yeah, they
It's a
should have
really
settled
like
some, like a beach.
unsettled
Back to the
wooded
water.
area. So they start, they get settled and
Now,
they bless
can I
the
ask you-
land.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Because I think you understand horror movies better than I do. I will admit that to your face. There's a scene right as this happened, whenever the family starts to pray, but they're praying to the woods. And then they also, later in the movie, go on to say that they don't want to go into the woods. Why the fuck are they praying to the woods? I took it as they knew the witch was in there, but they didn't.
I think it was more maybe a directional thing, or that they were just praying the land, and since like the wood part of the land was like the unsettled and kind of raw part and posed more of a danger because of all the animals and everything.
So they're praying away the danger, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay,
Like a
that makes
directional
sense.
thing. I mean, it was also a great shot because we see their backs as they're
Yeah.
kneeling down. It was great. The cinematography in this movie was amazing.
Amazing. Robert Eggers got a really bright
Yeah,
future
it was-
as a director.
It was very smooth.
Good colors.
Yeah. I forgot he's actually directing. He's already on tap to direct another movie, and I want to say it's a book adaptation. I can't think of what it is right now. But yeah, so it starts out, they pray the land, and so of course they start planting crops. They plant especially corn, and they're trying to get like the livestock.
And what's different about this movie,
Acclimated.
like usually horror movies, everything just goes right, but in this one, some things start to go wrong.
So they
Very
have,
subversive.
to kind of pan this out for you, there's the mother and father who are Catherine and William, and then they have their oldest daughter, Thomason, and then their son who's probably like 11 or 12, and his name is Caleb. And then we have the twins who are probably like 7 or 8, maybe 9, and their names are Mercy and Jacob. And then they have a newborn baby named Samuel.
Yes.
And so
Samuel's not in the movie very long.
No. Rest in pacifiers.
Yeah.
He
We don't know that he's dead, to be fair.
So, yeah,
he could be a
it's
baby
just-
witch.
that which is
A
precious.
warlock.
Imagine him in a little witch hat, a little
I
broom.
don't know.
Going trick-or-treating.
They showed the
Yeah,
They showed the what?
Hold
the
on.
blood. Okay. Well.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. Hold on.
Yeah.
We're skipping around. We need to get better at being sequential. We're
I think it's part of our charm that we're not.
those quirky kids just trying to live a
Are
dream.
you guys drinking wine too?
So, anyway, actually, before you finish this podcast, go get as drunk as we are, and then come back and then listen, and it'll make a lot more sense. So,
Or be sober and just like
Yeah.
listen to it with your grandparents.
I've only had 2 glasses of wine, so I'm pretty okay.
I've had this bottle.
Zach just pointed at an empty bottle.
Yeah.
So,
I'm 1.5 and I'm pretty good.
yeah. So we're good.
we're all probably on the same page.
Yeah. So Thomason's like playing peekaboo with Samuel, and at one point she opens her eyes and he's gone. So she goes dashing into the woods to find him.
She doesn't get very far into the
No.
woods, and then she turns around and tells her family. And the popular theory was that a wolf did it. One thing about the witch, it actually features quite a bit of animals, no wolves.
There you go.
So, spoiler: the witch took Samuel, not a wolf,
And not a wolf.
not a wolf.
And so she takes Samuel, and so we see the baby's like lying there, and you see a knife, and I mean it doesn't show anything.
It doesn't show a baby getting stabbed.
Yeah, but the next it cuts to
Some
you
blood.
see like some blood and like some entrails. I wasn't exactly sure what it was.
I don't know if there was entrails.
It
I
was
took
like
it as
there
her
was,
mixing it with something.
There was goo stuff that looked
Like
kind of like
witches make
intestine-y.
brews, right? Maybe
Yeah.
one of her recipes called for baby blood.
You know. So she's making her IPAs.
She's rubbing it on herself, right?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
rubs it on herself.
It's a lotion.
Yeah, and so she's
What?
rubbing it on herself, and so then it cuts to her in the woods, and she's like stroking her broomstick, right? And that's not like a metaphor; it's like an action. I'm not using any innuendos here. She's like actually like.
Now, I didn't know that because apparently this movie is very like historically accurate in the sense
Yeah,
that this is
it-
what they believed witches did at the time.
Well, and then also it like I did some research, and it actually, all of their
too.
clothing, their tools, and everything like that, it's historically accurate
Yeah.
to a T.
Yes.
Because this is supposed to be set in 1630.
Yes.
And so it's like all historically accurate. Some of the dialogue is apparently lifted straight out of old journals
Yeah.
and stuff.
They said that right at the end of the movie.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So she's like, and so she kind of like flies into the moon, right?
Does she? I don't remember her flying.
Doesn't she
I
start
don't
taking
remember
off?
that.
Okay, so I had a fever dream. And
We had to tell you that Bailey was on like all sorts of drugs. We were just like,
I actually snorted a line of cocaine.
Yes.
And then
she was chewing on a
smoked
mushroom cap the entire movie.
Yeah, and then I smoked some
like
mushrooms.
it was fucking bubble gum.
Smoked some mushrooms, and then I ate some pot.
Bailey always fucking does that too.
Oh, I got
Yeah,
you. Okay.
Bailey
we're
does.
inexperienced. So then it cuts to the kids all sleeping in like the upstairs. It's like a 2-story farmhouse, and so they sleep on hay and things
Is it
like
2
that.
stories?
Yep.
Yeah. It like
shit.
has it's technically
there's,
like
like,
1.5
a
because it's
storage.
like a it's like a attic.
Okay.
And so you just hear the mother weeping.
Yeah.
And so Caleb goes over to his sister Thomason, and this is my first. I have a theory for later.
Yeah.
But Caleb's like eyeing his sister in a
Yeah.
really sexual way because it keeps cutting to her cleavage.
Yeah.
And then it's really unsettling. And so she winds up waking up, and
Yeah.
he tells her that all will be well and to go back to sleep.
Yeah. He speaks like a 40-year-old man
And so,
who's like never had a friend. So, just saying.
so then they wind up going downstairs, and Caleb and the father William go into the woods because their crops are failing. All their corn's like turning black. I am no corn connoisseur, so I have no idea what that.
I know more about the band than the vegetable.
So, like corn's career, their crops were short lived.
Corn's doing all right. Jonathan Davis he's fully capable. He's a good musician.
Oh Lord!
But anyway,
so
they go into the woods because William has set some traps, and he's taking Caleb because, like, I don't know,
it's olden
it's a
times.
patriarchy.
Yeah, and it's like
a-
he's the oldest born son.
and it was so fucking stupid. Caleb's not that capable. He's a weak little bitch. Like, I'm sorry to be the one that says it, but he should have taken Thomason.
To
She
clarify, Caleb is a 12-year-old boy.
knows. Weak little bitch. Exactly what I said. So, like, he's not capable of anything. He gets thrown around and just. He falls for the oldest witch's trick in the book by running into, like, what's a beautiful lady. Like, you should have known that's a witch.
Come on, he's 12.
Yeah. I've had that happen to me twice, and both times I was like, clearly a witch. I'm going back home. And then I got attacked by a wolf, but that's a whole other thing.
So anyway, so they set some traps, and he sees a rabbit, and it's not. This rabbit's an occurring theme. It like is alluded to that it's one of the witches.
Minions.
Can
I say minion?
I believe so. You just
Is
did.
that copyrighted?
I don't think so.
Was it a minion or was it the witch?
I think it was the witch.
Well, I think the
Yeah.
witch is able to embody a lot of things at once. So, whether it's under the hypnosis of the witch or it's actually the witch like splitting her soul into other vessels.
And see, like Wiccan,
kind of
like
semantics.
the Wiccan belief has a lot. It's like really grounded in nature, and so I think that has to do with it too. That she embodies things in nature. So like wildlife,
Goats.
goats, like
Horned
the witches
goats.
fly, wind, all that fun stuff. So they see this rabbit, and they're starving. Like I said, their crops are failing, and the dad goes to shoot it, but the gunpowder blows back in his face. And nearly blinds him almost. And so they wind up going back to the house, and so it cuts to Thomason, and like she's trying to get her little brother and sister, the twins, Mercy and Caleb, or Mercy and Jonas, to like do their work.
Or
and
Jonah. It's like Jonah and the whale, right?
What was Jonah?
I don't know. Anyway,
My name is Jonas.
so they keep like doing all these chants about Black Phillip, who is their goat. It's like their male goat. I don't know what the proper term for a male goat is.
It's like a steer, but for goats.
yeah.
It's just
For my
a
4-H friends out there.
So
What's up, Nick Hicks? Shout out. Hope you win that competition, man. You could really use a new pair of cowboy boots.
So anyway,
I get to do my shout outs.
so she's trying to get them to do the work. And then what happens, Zach?
He's trying to get them to do the work, and they start running around dancing and singing annoyingly. And then, isn't that the point where Caleb and Will come back?
Yes.
Yes.
And so Catherine.
At this point, it's already established that Will sold Catherine's cup, which
It's
was
Catherine's
silver, right?
father's chalice.
Chalice.
I think they threw out the word chalice.
Yeah.
And so Catherine's like, where were y'all? And so Caleb comes up with this fib. It saves his dad's butt, really.
Pretty clever.
And
About looking for apples.
about looking for apples.
Who hasn't used
Ballet.
in the valley.
In the valet. I did some research. That's where the word valet came from.
So anyway,
They're looking for apples in the valley, and who hasn't used that excuse?
Yeah.
Classic excuse. I heard it. I turned to the person beside me on my right, and they were gone to the bathroom. But I was going to make a clever quip to them.
So anyway, and also the father has fallen in goat poop at this point. And so Catherine tells Thomason to like help
Take
her.
it down to the river by the valley
Yeah, it tells.
and clean your father's garments.
Yeah, which it's also really uncomfortable. Like the eye contact between the two of them when she's undressing him is also really unsettling. to me.
The more I think about it, the more I think your theory about why they are banished starts to come to life
Yeah,
a little
we'll get to the Satan pizza theory, but
Oh God, I forgot my Satan pizza theory. And I'm the
Yeah.
one who came up with that shit.
Anyway, well,
I'll
get
think
the-
about
get the gears
I'll get the
turning.
juices flowing.
So
I don't know what accent that was.
So back to the ballet. So she goes down to the river to wash her father's clothes, and so this is the second unsettling moment between Caleb and Thomason. So
Yeah.
Caleb keeps looking at her, and she's like, "What?" And he won't tell her, and so then she like kind of cuddles him a little bit, which like that's not the uncomfortable
No.
part, but he like it just keeps cutting between like her cleavage and like him, and it's
Yeah.
really unsettling. And so they're just goofing off and being brother and sister, and then Mercy comes running down there and starts telling Thomason that she's the witch
Yeah.
and that she saw her and da-da-da-da. So Thomason says she's going to hex her and
Yeah.
comes up with this like elaborate folktale that she...
What's really weird is that Mercy was telling the truth, I think. It's kind of up
In
for
a way.
interpretation. Well, I think that she definitely was talking to Black Phillip at that point, and definitely thought that she may have seen the witch take Sam, was the baby's name, into the woods.
Yeah.
So, but at that point, it's kind of presented like this little jest between the two of them, kind of like
Yeah.
they're joking back and forth, and that provokes Thomason to go on her little rant that Bailey was describing before I interrupted.
It's okay. So, she scares the crap out of Mercy, and she's like, I was the witch, and I'm gonna hex you if you tell mother and father, and like all this stuff. So she goes running back up.
Kind of a funny part of the movie too. It's like
Yeah.
the only real intentional comedic relief, and that's
Yeah.
coming from a comedian, so
Yeah.
you can take my word for it.
Yeah.
I get on
So,
stage and tell jokes and shit, so
It's kind of a big deal.
no big deal. Did a TED Talk.
So,
So,
so she goes running back to the house, and then what happens?
well, at that point, I'm a little fuzzy, to be honest. Runs back to the house, Mercy does, and what the fuck does happen at this point?
God.
Because Mercy doesn't tell the family yet. That's whenever.
That's way later.
Yeah, that's.
I remember Caleb kind of getting annoyed with her for joking about.
Yeah, he's.
Yeah,
he's getting a
Caleb
little
says,
peeved.
"Why would you do that?"
Yeah.
Da 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 da. Oh, and then they hear something, and then they go running back to the house.
Yeah. What did they hear?
They heard like some branches snapping, I thought,
I think so. Something
Yeah.
along those lines.
and so they went back to the house, and so
This is whenever they have that dinner scene, right?
Yes.
Yes. And during that dinner scene, they're having like this really sad dinner. It's like they have like a piece of bread and they're all breaking it and shit. And what was the conversation that was taking place at this point?
The mother lost.
Oh, she's kind of blaming
Okay.
Thomason for the cup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Will lets Thomason take the blade from him because of the patriarchy. It's a male-run society and it's flawed.
Yeah.
And people need to be equal all across the board. It doesn't matter if you're
Yeah.
a man or you're a woman or somewhere in between. It's okay. I'm preaching a storm right now.
So-
Speaking of preaching, I feel like the movie kind of comes across as like a sermon. Do you know what I mean by that? And it's kind of like, it's not like a fairy tale, because like a fairy tale has like its little moral story at the end of it. You learn a lesson. And the Bible is full of parables, which are kind of like fairy tales, but told by Jesus.
This is more of an urban legend, I would say.
An urban legend, kind of like an anti-parable, where the lesson learned at the end isn't like a moral lesson, but rather an amoral lesson.
Yeah.
More on the dark side of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So...
And the lesson at the end of the movie is it's okay to be a witch. Sure. It's okay.
So...
It kind of just goes back to what I was saying. The patriarchy's flawed. Do what you want to do. Have fun. Just don't kill anybody.
So they wind up having the dinner scene, and she takes some of the blame. And so it's after that
they go to sleep that night,
Right.
and we hear what's the mother's name?
Catherine and William are talking.
Catherine and William are talking. Catherine is talking about selling, essentially.
Thomason to a family
Thomason.
down the way for money.
Yeah, for money and for food mostly, so they can like afford to eat. And she's also kind of pissed at Thomason because there's kind of like, you lost Sam, you kind of got rid of my cup, and then that's why she's prone to believe what Mercy and Jonah tell later.
Yeah. So
So.
then Caleb wakes up early, and Thomason finds him down by the horses, and she's like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "If I succeed in this, then you're not going to have to go away."
She
And
tricks
so-
Caleb into letting her go with them.
Yeah, she says that she's going to wake up their mom and dad. And so what they do is they're going to the woods to trap animals so that they can get their pelts, so that they can raise enough money so that
Yeah.
Thomason doesn't have to go. And so in the woods, the horse goes crazy, and they also have their dog Fowler with them. And so Fowler takes off. We see
After the rabbit,
after the
right?
rabbit,
Yeah.
which is the same rabbit.
That Will couldn't
yeah.
shoot because he's not man enough to provide for his family
Yes.
in the patriarchy.
So, so they wind up. Thomason gets knocked from the horse because the horse goes crazy.
Yeah.
And
She gets knocked out.
And then when she wakes up, Caleb's gone.
So is the horse.
and
is the dog.
so everybody's gone. And so it's dark. She's been knocked out, it seems like, for a while.
Yeah, at least a couple of hours.
And so she comes running back, and she runs into William. And he's like, "Where's your brother?" And she's like, "I don't
Then
know."
it starts raining.
Then it starts pouring down
The
rain.
dog dies.
The dog is
Yeah,
dead.
and so-
Caleb witnesses or sees the aftermath.
Of the dog.
He
Yeah, it's
hears
like,
it going on, then sees the dead dog.
if you've seen, speaking of cabin fever, if you've seen the scene at the very beginning when the dog's like eaten out
Yeah.
from like the inside, it's
Yeah.
it's very similar to that.
Yeah, very similar shot. Two Cabin
So,
Fever references.
yeah.
That's a good movie.
And so then it is a good movie. So then
Ryder Strong, right?
Yep.
Sean Hunter. Out in
Sean
the
Hunter
woods.
is in it. Yeah. And so
Doing his thing.
So Caleb gets seduced essentially by this beautiful woman who looks a lot like the mother from Tangled.
I've never seen Tangled, but I got kind of an Angelina Jolie vibe. I
That's fair, yeah.
guarantee you in the casting they're like, let's get an Angelina Jolie type that doesn't cost Angelina Jolie money.
But I don't know, she's a little.
I didn't really interpret it as him being seduced.
It's more like
He looked a little just horrified.
seduce. It's more curious, I guess.
Yeah.
Seduce is a strong word.
Yeah.
Being a former young lad myself, there is kind of like this weird, whenever you're out in the woods and you're around that age, and this is just me being honest with you guys, you kind of fantasize about that happening, just like walking across like a beautiful naked girl. Like that's part of it. And to be fair, if I was 12 and that happened to me, I would be scared, but I would still go for the kiss.
I like
'cause-
your. Yeah.
Yeah, that's part of it. It's part of being a little dude, man. It sucked. Fucking sucked. But anyway.
Thanks for letting us dive into your psyche a little bit.
Of course.
Learning about your
Anytime.
nocturnal emissions. We appreciate it.
Jesus. But yes. I mean, yeah. And I think any dude out there that's listening is nodding along unless he's around friends. He's like, that shit doesn't happen. But it does.
As he goes back home to shamefully change the sheets. Anyway.
Jesus Christ,
Babe.
Bailey. You got us in a sticky situation here. Can you get us out of it? Yeah. So yeah, he goes, and we mentioned this earlier, and Elena had a good point that the jump scares in this movie are very weak, and this is like the first real jump scare, rather than Samuel disappearing. I guess is like the first one, but we saw that in the trailer. Like everybody saw that scene. That's the reason I wanted to see the movie. I was like, oh, that's really, really well put together scene.
Yeah.
But this scene, it seemed like I don't even know if there is a Ring 3. But it seems like a scare that you would see in like the third installment of a horror movie franchise that's not doing so well.
God. So, So Caleb goes up and he like kisses this woman who like it pans around and you see she has like I don't know how to describe
Leathery.
it. Yeah, like leathery gray hands
Tufts of hair.
and like really long gross fingernails.
Like if an elephant had a man's hand with hair on it.
I don't even know what to say to that.
Good simile, Zach. Let's continue with the podcast because you're killing it tonight. That's the response we were looking for.
So anyway,
The scares are just too familiar. If everyone in the audience can tell a jump scare is going to happen, then it's no longer scary. But I do believe if The Witch was the first horror movie you've ever seen, it'd scare the shit out of you.
well, I did make a comment, I think in the car on the way home, that I said I thought the Blair Witch was scarier than the Witch.
Absolutely. It's the what is the whole like? I'm gonna butcher this. If I was sober, I would probably not butcher it. But the scariest thing is the thing you don't know, or something like that.
For me, the scariest thing is what you conjure up in your mind.
Yeah.
And so
The Blair Witch, like the thing what the witch does, you see the witch within like 15 minutes of the movie. You see this naked, mangled golem or Schmeagol. Whatever. I don't know the Lord of the
it's
Rings
kind
that
of
well.
like, yeah, Schmeagol.
Just
Well, it would be Gollum. It would be Gollum because anyway.
I'm trying my best here.
I feel like she took multiple forms though,
She definitely did.
so I don't know. What point I'm going for here.
No,
I
but
mean,
she-
I feel like it starts out with the old woman because it's like the preconceived notion of the witch, especially in Victorian times,
Yeah.
like you were saying, and then it's like the beautiful woman because it's the idea of like being seduced and like the idea that we're presented in like the crucible and things like that because it's like the witches are usually like the like beautiful young like
We should play a game
mistresses.
at the end of this podcast. That's like, who do you think went to heaven? Out of all the people in this movie.
So anyway,
I think
speaking of
I'd
that,
make
there's
an
a
argument that
crucial
one of
there's a
them did.
crucial scene in this movie that we left out when William and Caleb are in the woods.
Yes.
And Caleb asks because their religion believes everyone's born a sinner and you have no idea whether or not they believe the idea, it's almost the idea of predestination.
Yeah.
And
Calvinists.
so Caleb like breaks down and it's essentially like you're telling me that Samuel, like this unborn, he
He's
was born.
definitely born.
He's
at
definitely
that
born.
point.
You're telling me that this like innocent, pure baby is like,
In hell.
Yeah.
Just burning up.
and William's like, I would love to tell you one way or another, but only God knows. And so we can pray and, you know, hope to be baptized because Samuel was not baptized. So it plays into that also that like,
And by
he
the
was
way,
not
why
baptized.
wasn't he baptized?
I have no
You
idea.
can baptize a baby.
So
Just drop a little bit of water on their forehead.
that's exact. You just stick them under the sink and let the water drip
Well,
on
they
their
didn't have a
forehead.
sink, but they had to take them down to the valley where there's a
They went down to the
stream.
valley. So he.
Have you guys
so,
read the Bible?
Yes.
That's a good book.
Yeah.
I
I'm
think I've
playing
read
with
the-
I'm playing with my rosary right now. So
Tis true.
so anyway, so fast forward. So it's storming outside, and they send Thomason outside to tend to the goats, and she
Yes.
hears something. And so she sees Caleb, who is naked and very weak and frail,
Yeah.
and they carry him inside, and he's very, very ill.
Yes.
And then they wind up bleeding him.
Yes.
And
And
he's
why
like-
did they bleed him?
Because that was, back then, they believed that if you let out a certain amount of blood or something, that you could let out the bacteria or the infection.
Oh, okay, that's right. They were really
Yeah.
stupid back then.
Yeah, I mean, like, they had... If they had been thinking a little bit clearer, it does make sense because, like, when there's, like, a lot of pressure on the brain or something, you do,
Yeah.
like, let that leak out. So it's,
Yeah.
like, kind of a good idea, but they just were very
Kind
misguided
of like
in
what
there.
happened in that Saw movie whenever he got the brain
Yeah, the
surgeon.
pressure, yeah. So,
I'm all over the
anyway...
place with references today.
They bleed him, and they're trying to get the infection out, and he has, like, some claw marks on him, but nothing super major.
No.
And so
Whenever...
then...
Yeah, so what happens after that? They discuss a little bit about Caleb, and then they're outside. What's going on outside?
I think it's important to point out that at this time they're already kind of getting more upset with Thomason.
Yeah.
Because she was sort of watching over him.
Yeah.
And he was taken.
And there's a lot more blame going on her way,
Yeah.
especially from
Yeah.
Catherine.
Yeah.
So she's starting to get...
People are starting to look at her differently.
Yeah. So then that's when...
They're outside, and is this whenever they start to say that she's the witch? Is that right?
Yes. This is when Caleb starts getting sick, right?
This
Well-
is when he pops out the apple. That's when.
Oh, yeah.
Well, they're outside and they're like doing some shit. I forget what they're doing. They're doing some pilgrim chore.
Oh, they're shucking the corn.
They're shucking corn.
He's
Yeah.
making Mercy and Jonah help him shuck the corn.
Yes. And because he's going to go into town and try to get medicine for Caleb, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that the plan? So, isn't that the point whenever Mercy starts to say that Thomason's the witch? Is that right?
I thought that all happened when Caleb's stuff happened.
I think she brings it up to Thomason, but not the rest of the family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She brings it up to Thomas. And
Yeah,
nothing
I think
else.
she says, I'm going to tell that you're
Yeah.
the witch and everything.
And
And
she's
she's
like,
like,
"Don't you dare."
I was just fucking kidding, dude. Like, calm down.
Yeah, because that's when they're both in the barn, and the goat starts bleeding. They're trying to milk the goats, and so
Yeah.
Thomason pulls down, and blood comes out in the bucket.
And that
And
sucks because goat milk's pretty good.
Yep.
Goat cheese, divine.
so,
So good.
so Mercy, freaks out, or Thomason freaks out, and Mercy's like, "What is it?"
Yeah.
And she's like, "Nothing." And then we get, so I like
Good
this. I
groundwork.
like this scene. But I feel like it goes on for too long. We watch the blood run out of the bucket, and it's not like a 2-second scene. It's like a solid 15-second scene
Yeah.
of just watching this blood run out of a bucket, which it was a good scene. It was very artful, but I just feel like it went on for a little too long. And so
I can see that.
that's when
It's kind of the turning point of the movie, too.
and that's when Caleb starts screaming out. And that's why they go back
Yeah.
inside.
It's kind of the way I took it, and
Yeah.
I agree it does go on a little long, but just for like structure of the movie, it's whenever you put all these elements of plot, let's say goat's blood, into a bucket, then it tips over. That's the turning point. And that's when everything they built up starts to pour out.
Yeah.
And I think that it's cool to take like a beat and like go, okay, this is what's fucking happening. But I agree, it goes
Took
on a little too
time,
long.
yeah. So, also I should mention earlier
I
when
had time to fart at that point, and then like
yeah.
So
And so, I should also mention earlier when they find Caleb, Catherine and William go running outside because William's gonna go find Caleb,
Yeah.
and it's like storming and stuff.
putting on his raincoat.
And one of them, does he hit her or does she hit
She hit him.
She slaps him and then wilts to the ground.
Yeah.
And so he carries her back inside, and they have a sweet moment in bed where he's like holding her
Yeah.
and telling her everything's going to be okay. And then that's when they say they're going to sell Thomason.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then Caleb starts screaming out, I think. And then so they go upstairs.
Then he starts saying like a prayer that's not like of their religion. It's like a dark prayer.
And then
It's like saying he
Yeah.
sees his Lord, which I think he's describing as Satan at that point, and then talking about how great it feels to like be in his presence. Or
yeah,
something.
basically to like give into the cardinal sins of the
Yeah.
flesh. And then his jaw gets stuck.
Yeah.
And so
Of course, Will pulls out his pocket knife.
yeah, and unhinges his jaw, and he spits out an apple. Which I love the representation of the apple and like temptation, everything great.
And an unhinged jaw kind of also brings to the serpent
Yep.
from the Bible.
Yep.
Boom.
There you go. And so then Caleb starts praying, like actually praying, basically for release from everything. And then Caleb dies. And so as they're praying around Caleb,
They
Mercy and Jonah forget their prayer and start like writhing on the ground in pain.
Yeah.
And then that's when it comes out that they say Thomason's the witch, and that Thomason's the one making them forget their
Yeah,
prayers.
and then they make sure Thomason's saying the prayer as well. That was kind of a big turning point. But
Yeah.
I don't know if the kids were writhing so much in pain or they were under like the hypnosis of Black Phillip.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, they appeared to be writhing in pain. Like they, yeah.
Or are they faking it?
And so then, yeah, mass
Dude,
hysteria.
that's why we need 3 people, because
Yeah,
3 perspectives.
exactly.
It's good.
Trifecta.
The trifecta.
So,
Triple threat.
woo woo. So then Catherine's like, it's all because of you, and she starts accusing Thomason, and so then William's like, do you believe in Jesus Christ? Do you believe in this? And she says yes to everything.
Yeah.
So the
Takes her
next
outside.
logical step is
Yeah.
he locks her and the twins in the barn with Black Phillip and the goats. And so she flat out asks them,
Yeah.
she's like, are you witches?
Yeah.
And Jonah's like, yeah, I'm starting to believe I am.
Yikes.
And so she's trying to get Black Phillip to talk to her at that point too, and nothing happens, and they wind up spending the night out there.
Yeah.
And then this
Wouldn't
is
you know
when
it?
this is when who wants to talk about what happens to Catherine while they're in the barn that night?
Ooh.
Elena.
Elena raised her hand so fucking high, she actually hit the ceiling fan.
Yes, Elena.
Elena, go ahead.
She's visited by Caleb and
Samuel.
Samuel. Did she? I couldn't interpret it. Did she think she was dreaming?
Well, I think
Or
that she
she-
definitely thought that it was happening. And then whenever Caleb, or she's like, should I go get your father? And Caleb's like, no need for that. I'm sure he's in the valley looking for apples.
And then he hands her Samuel, and she says he's hungry.
So what did they didn't have baby bottles or formula back then.
So she starts breastfeeding him.
which is okay.
And then
It's natural.
it pans back around, and she is getting, she's breastfeeding a raven who's just like pecking at her
Is
nips.
it a raven or a crow?
Crow.
It's a crow.
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 Yeah.
So, and then also right before this, they also buried Caleb, and Catherine went down in the grave on top of him and wanted
seen
William
that
to
in the
bury her
previews,
alive. Yeah. So when they wake up the next morning, it turns to Catherine, who her
Has a
hair,
little blood spot.
yeah,
Yeah.
on her shirt, and then also her hair is wild and unruly, and which now I have wide open spaces by the Dixie Chick stuck in my head.
I have Arms Wide Open by Creed stuck in my head. But that has nothing to do with this.
Arms Wide Open.
That has nothing to do with this conversation.
So they go downstairs, and the barn's been blown open. And
Oh yeah, we
the
forgot
night
to
before,
describe the scene. Yeah,
Yeah, the night before they saw something.
they saw the witch. They saw an old lady eating a goat, and then she turned around and gave the most stereotypical witch's laugh. I'm sure the Wiccans in the audience went, "Oh brother," whenever that happened.
So
By the way, if you're a Wiccan, that's fine.
yeah. So the next day they wake up and the goats are mutilated, and Thomason's sitting out there, and all she has are Mercy and Jonah's clothes.
Yeah, and where are they at? That's something that's unexplained, right?
Yeah, did they die?
I think they're gonna be witches.
I think the witch took them.
Yeah.
Oh
God.
So
I thought I turned you on silent.
So then William winds up getting gored by Black Phillip,
Yes.
and he winds up getting rammed into the side of the house and all of the wood that he chops to relieve stress throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
He says something about corruption being his father, or chaos being his father, or something, and then he dies. And then
He dies on the very foundation that he built,
built.
collapsing him. What a beautiful metaphor. Good job, Eggers. I see what you're
So
doing.
then, Catherine comes out, and she and Thomason
Have a fight to the death.
have an actual altercation.
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of Piper Laurie's performance in Carrie. I was very reminiscent of that to me.
I've never seen the original Carrie.
Oh, wait, shame on you.
Yeah, we talked about this already. Although, what's her name? The redheaded lady,
Julianne Moore.
Julianne Moore. Great in 30 Rock.
So
Amazing in 30 Rock is Nancy Donovan.
then they get into an altercation, and she starts choking Thomason, and Thomason has to stab her repeatedly in the face.
She slaps her mother in the face with one of those gardening tools, and the mother is bleeding, and then she's like, "Motherfucker, I'm gonna choke you," and then continues to choke. Thomason tried to give her a way out because Thomason wasn't corrupt at that point.
Yeah.
Thomason hadn't turned to her fate yet. Her what's the word? Weird. And that's the yeah. It's a destiny that is bad.
Yeah.
So I went to college. No big deal.
So, Thomason winds up changing her clothes, and then she goes and she just sits down in her dad's little shed,
And then puts her head on the desk like she's
Yeah.
in trouble in class.
and then wakes up.
Or like she finished her tax
Yeah.
test early and is taking a nap until the test is over.
And then wakes up and
Goes
goes
to
out
the-
to the barn and demands that Black Phillip speak to her. And Black Phillip starts talking to her, and he said, "What do you want? Do you want to live a life that's delicious?" I believe.
Like an apple.
Yeah, that's delicious. I remember I got Fergalicious stuck in my head. That's how I remember that part. And,
What is the definition of Fergalicious?
Make them
The
boys, go crazy.
Okay,
Yeah.
just making sure.
So Black Phillip comes up to her, acting like he knows her, calls her Stacy, and then says something about her signing his book, and she's like, I
Yeah.
can't do it. And so at that
Because
point,
she doesn't know how to sign because
Yeah.
of the patriarchy.
and then he's taken on his human form at this point, and he's like, I'll guide your hand. And then
So he becomes a human, then switches back to the goat, which I thought was a weird choice whenever they walk out into the woods for the final scene.
so it's her, and he asked her to remove her dress,
Yeah.
and so she walks butt naked into
Yeah.
the woods, And then we see she stumbles upon like a group of women who are around her age, not very much older.
Yeah.
And
They probably
they're
just
like
graduated college.
dancing
Girls Gone
and
Wild.
Naked bonfire.
Naked
and they're
bonfire.
having the traditional naked bonfire with postgraduate, and
Peyote's present. Everyone's having a weirdly good time.
so they're like naked and they're like singing, and they're actually singing in, and I'm gonna butcher how you say this. It's like Inochin?
I think
Inochin? And
if you
it's-
say that one more time, a witch will appear.
And it's an occult or angelic language stemming from the writings of Englishmen John Dee and Edward Kelly during the end of the 1500s. And so they're actually using that language, and then they all start levitating, and then Thomason levitates, and then it shows her levitating, and then we're done.
Coming of age tale.
So,
She finally
yeah.
rises
a
above.
Bildungsroman, if you will.
Yeah.
It's a surprisingly short movie.
Yeah.
What it is.
It felt longer when we watched it, but I looked up the running time. It was like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't bad. So yeah.
Let's talk about how the real horror, and this is again, of course, my traditional off the top of the head little tangent here, but the real horror in this movie lies in the character's denial of what is obviously happening in front of them. Ooh. The irony that the audience feels creates an interesting dichotomy. There's that word.
Dichotomy.
Dichotomy.
Look at you.
In the reaction, stomach churning versus laughing. Because the audience is so far ahead of the characters, both within the confines of the film, and because we're a more civilized society who knows more about witches. Certain parts of the movie can come across as cheesy, i.e. goat talking, apple in the throat, and floating witches. But those moments can truly boil stomach acid if you let them, and if you're hypnotized. And by virtue of said hypnotism, become more naive. And I think that to truly be scared in this age of modern horror, you kind of have to go in with a certain sense of naivety. And that's hard to do when there's people laughing in the theater around you. And that's why I think it's going to be a scarier movie if you
Sorry.
watch it by yourself. It's not directed towards you at all.
Well,
There were plenty of people laughing in that movie.
Yeah. So just a couple more side things about this, and I'm gonna get into the goat because I was terrified when the goat started talking. I was so scared we were gonna get a CGI goat, and I got my stomach churned, and I was like, please don't pan around to that goat talking. Luckily, it did not. But
They
apparently,
showed the hose, which is bad enough.
yeah. Stop.
Is there a goat?
The goat originally had more scenes, but it wasn't domesticated, so they had to cut all of them out.
Poor
It
goat.
wasn't domesticated
Not
enough.
getting the screen time that he wants.
Also, this movie is Church of Satan approved.
Really?
Stephen King said it scared him.
That's why I watched it, Steven. You led me down the wrong path. Well, whatever. It's an okay movie.
It is 89% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
Kind of boggling.
And
It's being called a modern horror masterpiece.
apparently they asked if like any paranormal activity went on set,
Yeah.
because of like, starting with The Exorcist,
Yeah.
Poltergeist, everything like that. There was a lot of paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
But nothing happened. They
Yeah.
said it was relatively
Because none of
calm.
that shit's real. That's bullshit.
So anyway, now what would we change about
What
this
would
movie?
we change?
Change the language. Damn.
Yeah, I put add subtitles. I think that kind of goes in with what
Yeah.
you're saying. Because I didn't understand like what they were saying most of the time. And kudos to them for making a historically accurate film. I don't know what the fuck. I don't know this language. And they spelled the witch with 2 V's. What the fuck is that?
Okay, the language didn't bother me,
Yeah.
surprisingly. What did bother me, though, was why they were excommunicated was never explained. Like, I'm assuming that, which my Satan Pizza theory we'll get to in a second, but
I just came up with one in my head, by the way.
I believe
I'm a veteran.
that, I just believe that there was a better way to do that. The pacing was fine to me. I'm a fan of a good slow burner.
You know how I feel about slow
Zach
burners.
loves slow burners.
Oh,
And this one
Love a
was
good
actually,
candle.
it was well paced. There was like time in between the action. It wasn't like 30 minutes of dead time and then
Yeah.
something. There was pacing there. But I would change a little bit, not of the language exactly, but the dialogue went from really deep to really shallow. There was no real in between.
it's very true.
So that was just a little bit of the writing there.
I would say that you should construct better jump scares, and I feel like this is something that I keep bringing up because it was. I went in expecting to see a really terrifying movie. What I got was like a very unsettling kind of. It's a metaphor for society. the patriarchy
Yeah.
and everything. But whatever. I think that you should either make better jump scares or remove them from the movie. And also, that's what I think about the horror genre in general. I feel like as an audience, we are kind of past the jump scares at this point, unless you can come up with something new. Take them out of the movies.
Yeah, and I mean, that was my criticism of Krampus. Krampus was great until the last 30 seconds.
I gotta
and then
see that movie.
we'll have to cover that soon because
Yeah.
I told 2 other people to see it and they both hated it. I loved it. Anyway,
It's your Pet Cemetery all over again.
probably.
That's
It's a
I did
fucking garbage movie.
I did Skype with a friend though, and she was like, "No, I really liked Krampus too." And then also my tattoo artist and another one of the tattoo artists at
Who'd you
the
see
shop I go
Krampus
to.
with?
My friend Michael,
What did he think?
he hated it.
Oh.
So, yeah, I don't know. So yeah.
Is there anything else you would change, or just the language?
Probably could have come up with a good list of stuff.
Yeah. To be fair,
The
like we said,
levitation was also really hokey.
Yeah, it was.
It's hard to do a good
I wasn't a
levitation.
big fan of the whole ending
yeah,
sequence.
you kind of think that it was leading up to something more impactful, but just a lot of women levitating.
Yep.
You ever seen that episode of How I Met Your Mother when Ted finally lets Robin go on the beach, and then Robin starts to float above him? It's a lot like that.
Gosh. Yeah, it's just hard to do a really good levitation scene. Like The Exorcist, when she goes off the bed, it's just really hard to do a good
Although
levitation
you can see
scene.
the wire in The Exorcist.
Yeah.
But
But
I don't get what they were trying to accomplish with the levitation scene either.
I think that it kind of represents that she was finally free, because even though she was doing everything she was supposed to, her parents just completely smothered her the whole time, and so that's why by accepting her fate, and even though it was a dark fate, she was finally released.
yeah.
I think it would have been creepier if they'd done like a welcoming sequence or something.
Yeah, because I mean, we were talking about this as well, that we believe that, I mean, she was who they were after the whole time, and that's
Yeah.
why they had to take everything from her so that she would have nothing left.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Totally.
But do you want to do your Satan Pizza theory first?
Yeah,
or
so
you
my
want to-
Satan Pizza theory, I just constructed in my head, and I'm completely open to whenever I announce it that it's going to be completely discounted and proven wrong. But we do this podcast for a reason, and it's so we all learn something, including us. We don't know everything. But my Satan Pizza theory is that Thomason was all about this the entire movie. That she wanted to be a witch the entire movie.
Not her family was just freaking awful.
And that was her one way to escape it, because they were so religious, even to the point, maybe they were too religious. Maybe that's why they got kicked out. They were just like, everybody was like, can you like calm it down with the God stuff? Like, we get it. Like, we're all on board, man, but like a little too much. And he's like, no, my voice is gravel mixed with lava.
Do you want to hear mine? 'Cause I have a
Yes.
good one. Okay.
Oh, because mine's not
So,
good.
Yes.
not. Oh my God, yours was great. Mine's
Thank you.
good. So my Satan Pizza theory is Samuel was actually Thomason's baby, because they got kicked out for incest.
I think they were just way too
Because
close in age.
I think they were incestual.
Well, Thomason's supposed to be like 16 or 17,
I think
right?
she was, because they make a
He was,
comment
like,
about
11 at
like.
least.
No, she's saying that Sam, the baby, was.
Oh,
Yeah,
Not
no.
Caleb.
Yeah, no. Not Caleb.
Yeah.
Samuel. I think that it was her baby, and I think that it was her father's baby as well. And I think that explains all of the weird, like sexual
That's a
tension.
really
I hate to
interesting
say
thing,
it,
yeah.
but there's like some awkward moments, especially like with Caleb is like sexualizing her, and like when we see from Caleb's vantage point, Thomas, and she's very sexualized. And so I think that they were kicked out because they were like trying to keep the bloodline pure and stuff like that, and that Samuel was
That's okay.
Thompson's baby.
And maybe, and this is going to sound weird, but maybe the reason that Caleb's staring at that area is because they've gotten bigger because she's had a baby, and that's what happens. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
I don't fucking
How
know.
would the mother have been breastfeeding though?
I don't
Playing by
know.
Catherine.
Maybe that's what she wanted to do. Maybe we never saw her actually
Yeah,
breastfeed besides the crow.
Yeah, and this was a time of, she did one time, remember?
did?
Yeah, when they first got there. But, I mean, this was a time of wet nurses, too.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
Who
That's
fucking
my-
knows, man? That's
that's
what
my
the
Satan
Satan
pizza-
Pizza theory is all about.
So, Elena, to explain to you the Satan Pizza theory, and for those that have never listened before.
This is season 2 of Casting Out Demons, brought to you by
Our Blood, Sweat, and Tears.
Bailey and Zach.
Bailey and Zach.
There you go.
I'll never get that. So, for those of you that don't know, if you've seen the movie The House of the Devil,
My all-time favorite horror movie.
This originated on like our third or fourth
Second.
episode.
Tied for first.
And
1B.
Zach had a theory that at this pizza joint, Satan purposely made the pizza taste bad so that she would have to order pizza later on in the movie.
The whole movie hinges on her ordering that pizza.
And so
That's all I'm saying.
it was really funny when Zach said it because it sounded ludicrous, but that led to our Satan pizza theory corner. So
I don't know if
now
ludicrous is the right word. I think that what the demon heads were tossing around on Twitter was genius. So I'm just saying.
when Zach hacked into our Casting Out Demons account and then made 5 other fake accounts to tag our account in.
You sound so ignorant right now. That's not even how hacking works.
Zach just used his middle finger to push his glasses back up on his face. So anyway,
I forgot my glasses.
so that's-
I gotta get those
I
out of
know.
storage.
we need to. This is season 2.
Season 2.
So yeah, that's the Satan pizza theory, and
Do you
so
have
we
a
just
Satan
come up
pizza
with
theory?
a crazy theory.
I don't. But I don't know if I agree with Bailey's.
That's a Satan
fine.
pizza
Yeah,
theory of your
that's
own.
the beauty of the Satan pizza theory. There's
You
no
can take a slice
foundation.
or leave a slice of pizza. It's all right.
I guess I interpreted Caleb's, like, kind of gazing at her more as curiosity than anything else.
Those were the only boobs around.
Yeah.
Truth.
Truth.
Well, besides his mom's.
Well, she was in bed crying most of the time.
So that's fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, those Satan okay.
All right,
now,
so
recasting out demons.
recasting out demons. Can I start? Because
Yeah.
mine's going to be very quick. Will, I said Tom Hardy. And then keep everyone else the same because I don't know any of those other actors or actresses, and I think it kind of adds to what did I write? The unfamiliarity of the cast. It gives it a little bit of an edge that a lot of horror movies are missing. Because like you watch Sinister, you're like, oh, Ethan Hawke's doing that. Why is Ethan Hawke doing that? He's in Sinister, right?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And he's in The Purge too. Is that right?
Yeah.
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 The
So
first
it's
one.
like you're watching Ethan Hawke. You're like, he's in Richard Linklater movies.
Which, by the way, I'm really excited for the Purge election year because I think it's going to be great and really tie into everything that's going on. Anyway, not important, but I'm really excited about that.
This is how big it is. Can you guys see what I'm doing?
I have such high expectations for horror in 2016, and I know
Yeah.
I'm just going to be let down so many times, but that's still why I do this.
You never know whenever
yeah.
you're going to stumble across a
Like, It Follows, The Guest,
House of the Devil.
House of the Devil.
Still one of my favorite. Okay, you know what? I'm going to say it on the record. My favorite horror movie of all time.
That's fair.
Boom. I don't give a shit.
That's fair. Elena,
Oh,
what's...
you have to watch
Oh,
it.
speaking of that, we'll go ahead and ask Elena... Oh, I'll do my recasting out demons,
Yeah.
then we'll ask you. We'll ask you a question in a minute. So for my recasting out demons, I said for Thomason, Micah Monroe, a.k.a. from The Guest, It Follows.
Yeah.
And even though she doesn't like the title Scream Queen, she is definitely a Scream Queen in my eyes. For William, I said Christian Bale. For Catherine, Tilda Swinton.
Very good. Very good choice.
For Caleb, so I don't know who like the teeny boppers are watching these days. I think it would have been a little bit better if Caleb were about 13. Because
And
that
who
way
you
he's
got
like right
to
on the
play
brink.
that role?
I have no one.
I guess I can step in.
I said an unknown or 13-year-old Haley Joel Osment. And then also, this one's a little controversial, but for the twins of Mercy and Jonah, I said the Olsen twins circa 1995.
You know, I mean, with technology.
AKA like It Takes Two.
Yeah, that's fine.
The Old Witch, Nev Campbell.
Okay.
AKA Sidney Prescott.
Who's the guy
for
that
those who don't know.
plays because I'm going to change one of mine here. The guy that plays Gollum, and he was, what else was he? He was the ape, the main ape, Caesar in Planet of the Apes, the new one. He's won like
name off the
Oscars.
top of my head.
He's a big deal.
Can't
I'd pick him to play the witch because he does those green suit roles very well.
Well, and then I said for the Old Witch, Helen Mirren. Because I feel like the Old Witch, I feel like it was just, I don't know. I didn't like the whole, like, old, here's what witch looked like. Like, I
Yeah.
get why they did it, and I appreciate why they did it, but I'm still like,
What about Sarah Jessica Parker?
Plot twist.
Bette Midler.
So one of the podcasts I listened to, actually, one of the brothers made a joke about, like, he was like, yeah, I went to the witch and the false realization that it was just Hocus Pocus 2. And I quickly realized it was not. So, yeah, that's what I have.
Let's talk about, do you want to recast out demons real quick? Do you have anybody in mind, even for just one role?
My, like, actor knowledge is weak. But we were talking about Carrie earlier. And I think Carrie's mother would have been
A good witch
Ooh,
or the good
Julia
mother?
good mother.
Good mother. Very good.
I like Julia Moore a lot.
That's her name.
There we go. I actually almost put that, then I thought, not just Tom Hardy. Because I like Tom Hardy. I think he's a good actor. Yeah. I still haven't seen The Revenant, though.
Anne Hathaway might have also been good in this.
Yeah, just somewhere. Like, just write her an Anne Hathaway type role.
Yeah.
She doesn't have to be part of the family. It's okay.
Just
Have you guys seen The
scene.
Intern? I like that movie.
No, I have it on my...
It's a cute, fun movie. You watch it by yourself and you feel a little bit better about life. You go, being old's not going to be that bad if I can be like Robert De Niro.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, Elena, we do have a question for you.
Okay.
What was the first horror movie that scared you and why?
I think the first horror movie I ever saw was The Sixth Sense. My mom was watching it, and I watched some of it right before I went to bed, and it, like, totally destroyed me. I don't know why.
That's a good answer. 'Cause
Yeah.
I think it was just the first scary movie I ever saw.
And it's a really good twist, too.
Well, I mean, there's the first... That scene really bothers me when, like, the kid's like, here, I'll show you where he keeps his gun and the whole back of his head's blown off. That
Yeah.
part still disturbs
What
me.
bothered me was when he went to the kitchen to see his mom, or who he thought was his mom.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I don't even remember what it was,
No,
but all
yeah.
the drawers were open, and
Yeah, and I mean, plus,
And-
young Misha Barton's in it. OC
Yeah, and she
reference.
throws up.
Obligatory OC
And then
reference.
in the OC, doesn't Adam Brody say, like, the girl that threw up in The Sixth Sense?
Yeah,
at one
he
point?
does reference it.
Yeah. My favorite part about The Sixth Sense is whenever they're like, it's Haley Joel Osment and Bruce Willis and like walking down the street, and then Bruce Willis realizes that Haley Joel Osment is a terrorist, and then he kicks him and goes, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
I loved the limo driver in The Sixth Sense, too.
Mm-hmm.
Really bringing that comedic relief.
That's what we do here.
oh man, and that scene where they put him in the whatever it was in the wall,
Yeah.
with the bullies
Oh,
pushing
yeah.
him into the wall. That scene terrified me.
You know what's a really bad movie? Panic Room.
I love.
I fucking hated that movie. Forrest Whitaker, Kristen Stewart.
Jodie Foster.
Jodie Foster.
Jared Leto's in it. Isn't Jared Leto in Panic
So,
Room?
Panic Room.
You like that movie?
I have not seen it all the way through, so I am Switzerland.
I just thought it was just like, oh, look at these rich people. Like, they're getting robbed. It has to be Forrest Whitaker, really? He seems like a nice guy in this movie.
He
I
was
don't know.
nice.
He was. It's just, he's got that face. He just looks like a nice guy.
So
I trust him. I tell him some secrets. I would. I don't care.
So anyway.
What did you rate this movie on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oof.
Keep in mind, I asked them after the movie what they rated it, and I kind of remember what it was, but, I'm pretty drunk, so I might have forgotten.
I would like to change my rating a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not going to say what my original rating was because it was
very
way
low.
harsh. I would give it probably a 6. Now, talking about it and thinking of kind of digesting on it a little bit, I think it would be about a 6.
You have time to digest it a little bit.
Yeah.
Just really sink your teeth into it.
Yeah, I'm with Bailey. When I first got out, I was annoyed because I was expecting it to be so good.
Yeah.
I think I said a 5 to begin with, but now I'm probably at about a 6.
Okay.
6.
I think I went with 6 as well whenever I got out of the movie. And keep in mind, this little summation I'm about to give you is completely off the top of my head. But my rating is a 7.0. There's a dash in my head, and there's some words that follow it. But people with more knowledge of horror movies than I have are calling this a modern horror masterpiece. Did I tell you what my rating was? Did I already say that? I'm pretty drunk.
Yeah.
7.0.
7.0.
Okay. But I believe it will take time. I think The Witch, spelled with 2 uppercase V's side by side, is a movie that needs to age a bit. And within 10 years, it will top a lot of the younger folks' list as the scariest movie they've seen.
Yeah, I think it'll probably be for us like how the Blair Witch Project was.
Yeah.
Because I know when it came out, it had a cult following, but like our generation, those of us like 92, 93ers, really like it a lot. When you talk to a lot of people, they really enjoy it or at least respect it. And if we showed it now, it wouldn't work.
kind of playing off of what she was saying earlier about The Sixth Sense being like the first movie that really scared her. If I were to make a list of the movies that scare me, The Sixth Sense wouldn't be in the top 10, but I saw that movie when I was 20.
Yeah.
So that being said, it's kind
Yeah.
of like what you're really first introduced to is going to be the movie that stands out in
It's
your
like
mind.
me and Hellraiser. Even though Hellraiser is still fucking scary.
I've
I
never
don't care
seen
what anybody
Hellraiser.
says. It's still really creepy.
Never seen Hellraiser. Freddy Krueger is what gets me. That was the first movie. Nightmare on Elm Street was the first
Oh,
one that
yeah.
really got me. And I watched it later in life, and I'm like, it's not as scary as I remember because of the campy nature of the whole Freddy Krueger character. Although the first one was a lot more serious than the remakes. But I think it's the first thing you're introduced to, and I think that if like a 7-year-old were to watch The Witch tonight, well, I don't know what 7-year-olds are watching now. They have iPhones; they could watch whatever. But like, if a 7-year-old who was like raised in our situation, they'd be really fucking scared of this movie.
Yeah.
So I think it's gonna age, and maybe in 10 years I'll give it a 7.1 instead of a 7.0.
Who knows?
Who fucking knows? That's the thing about it. It's all arbitrary, but we mean what we say at the time we say it. And that's kind of what this whole podcast is all about.
Yeah. So now on to Bone Plugs and Harmony.
There you go.
So to start out with, thank you to Jackson King for our theme music, and also thank you to Lauren Cecilia Mims for designing our logo. For more of our designs, go to laurenceciliamims.com. Zach, do you have anything to plug?
Well, I think that somebody that lives in my apartment does the original music for Casting Out Demons that you hear right now. Let's actually take a little bit of a break to listen to what I've got prepared for us. Oh yeah, those smooth sounds are really adding some ambiance to this episode. Yes, I would like to plug, I'm working on another podcast with my uncle and my brother. The name is still up in the air. We've come up with a few names for it. It was Wingnuts for a while. We bounced back and forth between Truly, but it's a conspiracy theory podcast that's completely improvised. And I play a young hotshot college graduate who's helping his uncle write conspiracy theory books. And we don't know we're being recorded because of conspiracies and the patriarchy. I'm also working on a new sketch show. It's called Apartment Show. Bailey's going to be a part of the writer's room in that. So is Jackson King, who we mentioned earlier. Haven't talked to Cecilia Mims, but if she's interested, she can draw some shit. We talked about a Flash animation earlier. I also recently, Demon Heads, I did a TED Talk. If you want to go check out that video, you can find that on my Facebook wall. You can also just put me in YouTube. I come up first now if you type in Zach Busby. That's a huge step, even though I've been making YouTube videos for fucking 10 years, and I'm finally getting the recognition I deserve, but whatever.
You're like the witch.
I'm like the fucking witch. I age well. In 10 years from now, everybody's going to be like, old news. That guy's a hack.
Elena, do you have anything to plug?
Thanks to y'all.
Oh,
Thanks, Elena.
yeah.
Thank you.
You added a lot.
Thank you.
You added a little bit of discourse. You looked at Bailey. You're like, I don't fucking agree with you, Bailey. And guys, the tension in the room today, it was ridiculous. I got a phone call from a neighbor that was like, can you tone down that tension? And I was like, wrong number. Which
New
is another
phone, who
bad
dis?
movie.
So hi, Bailey. I have a blog that's nobodyputsbaileyinacorner.wordpress.com. I'm doing a new side project right now, but called Love is a Working Title, where I interview all of my friends and family about love and heartbreak, and it's a lot of fun. We have a YouTube channel and a
I'll be on there
Facebook page.
soon.
Zach will be on there soon. I was going to actually coerce him into doing it tonight, but
Let's do it.
Okay, I'm going to coerce
Yeah.
Zach into doing it
I
tonight.
ain't got shit to do tonight.
I'm hopefully starting a new podcast soon. Fingers crossed.
It's called, is it called
Fingers?
Fingers Crossed? Is it
It's called Fingers Crossed. No,
Is it
it's
about
called,
David Cross?
It's called, I'm between a couple titles. It may be just the PC for the podcast, which is going to be an OC fan podcast.
I will be featured on this.
The tagline is everything you didn't learn around the bagel slicer.
Oh, kissed.
And then we will end every episode by saying don't compare apples to Orange County.
Can we just take a moment? I just did a pretty good Sandy Cohen.
What?
Oh, kissed.
The schmear.
Remember Kirsten has that drinking problem?
Yeah.
Oh, Kirsten, look at yourself.
So that'll hopefully be happening. I have a lot of good ideas. I just have to figure out if I'm going to do it solo and just have a new guest every week or what. But I just bought a new mic that I am itching to break out. So, like I said, I'm on iTunes. So hopefully we'll have that figured out soon. Like I said, we're going to go back to recording weekly
Yes.
Should we start? I have a question for you, Demon Heads. Should we start telling you what movie we're going to cover before we do it, or should we leave it a surprise until the day of / the day before?
This is something we've talked about on an episode once before, and it's been brought up by people who've taken time to listen to our podcast.
Yeah, and
that's what they're called. Fucking demon heads. They're just like you. And it's pretty split down the middle.
Of whether or not to. I've heard some people say no because they'd rather listen to us first and then watch it so that they can notice stuff. And then I've heard people say no, they want to watch it first so that then we know that they know what we're talking about.
Shout out to Zeke Jarman.
Yeah, Zeke said it. I've had a...
No, man, I want to know what it is before I watch it.
Yeah, I've had multiple people. It's pretty 50-50.
Yeah.
So we have a question for you.
Good movie, by the way, 50-50.
That is a great movie.
Joseph, that's not a name. Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Seth Rogen. Good movie. Check it out.
So, yeah.
I think Anna Kendrick's in it,
Just... Maybe?
I think so.
Yeah. I know that Seth Rogen's wife's in it, too,
Yeah.
Lauren Miller.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, thanks for
I actually had a
thinking-
little new segment I was thinking about. Bringing it up.
okay.
I hate to put you on the spot, but you've done this to me several times.
Oh, yeah, that's fair.
I'm stealing it from another podcast that may be over at this point. They only did about 17 episodes, but it's called the the Rosenthal and Jesselnick Vanity Project. It's a football podcast featuring Anthony Jeselnik, one of my favorite stand-up comedians. At the end of every episode, they do a little bit of recommendations where they talk about a book, movie, TV show that they recommend, and I have a recommendation.
Yeah, we've talked about doing this. I feel like we did it just naturally in a couple episodes.
Yeah. This isn't a horror movie recommendation, but it is a Stephen King recommendation. He has a new show on Hulu, a Hulu exclusive, starring James Franco. It's also produced by J.J. Abrams. It is called 11/23/63. Sorry, 11/22/63, I think. Whatever, pick any day. And it's the day that Kennedy was assassinated. And the whole premise is there's this guy who runs a diner. He goes back to 1960 frequently to get beef and sell it for the cheap. And he sells like a $2 burger. Anyway, that's not really important. But he's gone back in time several times to stop the Kennedy assassination and has yet to be able to do it. And he's gotten cancer and he's passing it on to James Franco. And it's a very, very good show, and I'm very intrigued.
Yeah, so that should be a lot of fun. I guess my recommendation would be, I'm going to think of it while Elena goes.
Oh, God. I don't know.
I recommend, if you get a chance, I went on a date today. Go on a date with the girl that I went on a date with. I had a great time. Good recommendation. I'll keep coming up with recommendations till you guys throw one out there. I'm also reading a book by Stephen King called On Writing. It's him telling a memoir of his life and telling you how he became a writer.
I would probably recommend. I'm going to recommend something that has nothing to do with the witch. It's called if you've never seen it, Trick or Treat, not Trick or Treat. Trick or Treat. Gene Simmons is in it. Ozzy Osbourne has a little segment in it. It's plays into the fear that like metal and rock during the 80s was like satanic. And so this kid is obsessed with like this lead singer who's like very like 80s hair metal band-esque, and the lead singer dies in a hotel fire and gets brought back by this kid playing his record backwards, and he wreaks mayhem on this small town. It's like, it's
very
great.
Campy? It sounds pretty campy.
It's very campy.
I love the sound of it.
The soundtrack's really cool, and what's really funny is it's like a heavy like metal soundtrack. The lead singer of Flogging Molly was one of the band members in this soundtrack. So it's
Is this
really
a recent
good.
movie?
No, it's from the 80s.
Oh, shit.
And Ozzy Osbourne plays a televangelist TV preacher.
No, they're called priesters.
I was thinking
In
of
the 80s they
preacher
were.
and minister. It's really good. It's a lot of fun.
What do you got for us?
The only thing I can think of that I've recently started watching was The Human Planet on Netflix.
Is that it's like a nature documentary, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I think I almost started it, but I started watching The Office again for like the 52nd time. Another recommendation, sorry, I have a lot of them. I watched the entire first season of the new Judd Apatow series, Paul Rudd series called Love on Netflix.
I was going to recommend that, but I wasn't sure if I wanted to.
Oh, it's so good. I love it. From beginning to end.
I'm also,
tragic.
yeah.
Did you finish it?
Mm-hmm.
What'd you think?
I liked it. It was a little bit slow moving.
I like that, though. I love a good slow burn.
Okay.
Oh, God, it's so good. Let the moment.
It's like over halfway through the season before they even start
Yeah, but
becoming romantically involved.
see, it's not just about their love. It's about love in general.
Okay, so Elena and Zach will be starting a podcast.
The Love
About
Podcast.
love.
Yes. Have you seen that?
So no, I
Check it
haven't
out.
seen
That's
it.
good.
We should let our demon heads go so that they can watch it too.
Yeah, we have an important reminder for you guys.
Oh, and remember, ghosts have feelings too.
The sequel.
Casting Out Demons is brought to you by Zach and Bailey. It's they're people. They bring you stuff sometimes. Kind of like a waitress, but it's two people. So picture two waitresses serving one table. Intro and outro music provided by Jackson King. Cover art provided by Lauren Cecilia Mims. Casting Out Demons is created by Bailey McLeod Perkins and produced by Zach T. Busby. There is something in the void, something in the rain. There is something in your pain. There is something. Let's call it matter, composed of atoms. There are atoms, and on a more subatomic, more on a more subatomic, on a more subatomic level. I think they're called quartz.